And I'll give you a scenario. First off, I think everybody on here agrees 1250 is the existing, that's way too close, okay? The state has come back, and I don't know that last, Janet, help me out, when the state come back, or this last meeting when we talked about 1,800 square feet, where did that come from?
600 tower height times 3.
Well,
Right.
that is what I asked. I said, where'd that document come from? Out of what company or what source?
It should be in the North Dakota Century Code.
Century Code.
It's either there or it's in the PSC out there, so on the
Thank
site.
Okay. I think that might be too close. A mile, and here's the other side of the coin now. And this is actually, because I farmed this land for a number of years, and I don't care, and this will never
I
happen.
wouldn't want to be on this.
There's 1,000 acres in a continuous spot, okay? And the parents died and sold the farmstead off. The farmstead's 5 acres, okay? With a mile setback, if that individual doesn't want any wind towers on that 1,000 acres, that guy with 5 acres, and the 1,000 acres is now owned by the 5 kids, and they're not kids, one's 74 years old, okay? That 5 acres dictates that 1,000 acres. Is that fair?
Where do the people that own the 1,000 acres live, and where does the person with 5 acres live? Which ones have to deal with it?
Well, none of those 5 that own the 1,000 acres live there.
They're not gonna have to.
That's the point.
But the one with 5 acres, if it's a quarter mile away, they would be looking at it.
Well, a quarter mile, like I said, a quarter mile
Yeah, or a half mile.
is too
I'm
close.
just saying that they have rights too.
Right. But I think when you say that the 4 people in your township are all 1 mile setback, you didn't contact all the, or maybe you should, the non-resident landowners and deal with their feelings are.
I mean, should I deal with people that live there, that farm there, or the ones that are absentee landowners?
You know, the way I got the last meeting and listening to them out there, it's, I think less than a mile would happen if they had a voice. They want it at a mile, but with a variance, so at least they have a voice, and maybe they can negotiate, and maybe that is going to end up at a half a mile. Maybe it's 3/4. I think it's, but giving them that mile, it gives them a voice. I think that's what I'm hearing. And to me, I in your case there, if they sold that farmstead off of that 1,000 acres, of that 5 acres, that person should have a voice. I believe. Not just the people that own the 1,000 acres around it. Because, like I said, they're the ones living there. They should have a little bit of voice. Maybe they could deal with a half a mile and they would have more wind towers on there. But they got a voice to that. Maybe they get a little piece of the pie. That's what I think I'm hearing from people, is that they want to have that mile setback with the variance because it actually, they would negotiate and they'd probably get it closer than a mile, the wind tower company. And a lot of those instances.
What names the wind tower man? Do you? Oh, Tim. Do you compensate non-participating people?
So, the
Explain that.
correct answer is no. However, we do have, and it was mentioned, we do offer good neighbor agreements, which is an opportunity for the 5 acre guy in your example to be compensated. So we do have that mechanism, absolutely.
Okay.
What would that contain? So if you're going to talk to a guy with 5 acres, what would you offer him?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
But would it be curtains? Would it be a tree break? Or is it going to be a part of the turbine?
sometimes it could be all of the above. And I'm not being facetious, but sometimes it can actually be all of the above.
Mr. Chair, I can speak to what they would offer. I got one. They'd give me $2,000 to sign it. They'd give me $1,500 per year of operation from the certificate of start date. It's not project critical to come closer. Now, I'm in Eddy County. I'm in Grandfield Township. We have a mile setback.
Okay.
They would give me $2,000 to sign, and I think they really regret sending me this. They would give me $2,000 to sign it, $1,500 per year if I agreed to it. If I sign it, I'm under a gag order. I can't talk about it. I haven't signed nothing. That's why I'm talking about it. And you waive any of all of your rights when you do that, and it transfers with your land.
You signed
But-
a wind
but you
farm
still have
contract,
the-
you signed away the rights to your land.
Well, no.
Attorneys,
can they get
attorneys
then, or-
have told us this.
They
We've
would
had
like-
attorneys look at these wind farm contracts, multiple companies, NextEra, EDF Renewables, other companies. They've told us, do not sign the contract as it exists. You are signing the rights away to your land.
How close?
They would,
How close?
so it would be, we're at a mile setback in
Okay.
Granfield Township. I was never contacted as an individual that lives there. Like I said last meeting, my dad, and he looked it up, he gave $1,000 way back when. We didn't sign up any land. I didn't sign up any land. I own a yard, 18.93 acres. We live there, got a shop there, I'm pretty proud of it. I wasn't contacted until Granfield did the mile setback. And in the good neighbor agreement, they would come, that would allow them to come from 1 mile to 1/2 mile.
Okay, that was my
And,
question.
and,
as
and,
to
and
how
it was
close
worth
could they get?
$1,500 a year.
But they differ.
Let's get a motion done.
Okay. Anything else? Roll call vote.
Could you read the motion, Jenna, before we vote on it?
So I put Robert Brown motion to approve the 1 mile setback with the option of a variance as written in the preliminary ordinance. Seconded by John.
Then could you read all of the discussion, please?
Again,
a
it's all on
a very concise review of the discussion. Briefly. I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
Okay, someone who's got a list of the people here as
Warren,
far as raw.
I have it.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Warren,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Boone,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Fay.
Yes.
I'm gonna vote.
Unanimous.
You just gotta do all the work. Okay, motion carried. All right, last item, discussion of possible information of data center ordinance. I called Dickey County. You wouldn't believe it. They have this big data center going up. And has anybody seen it, first off? They say it covers a section.
There's been many articles in the papers of all the data centers in the state. They are very poor neighbors. They have to be taken to court to set up their noise barriers and everything.
Anyway, to make a long story short, Dickey County has no zoning for data centers. Yeah, we're really starting to try to work on one, she says, but they're kind of difficult to achieve. That was my homework assignment, was to call Dickey County. You just assume they have.
Did they annex to Illinois?
They annexed, where this data center is annexed into the city of Ellendale. Yet it's 2 miles away. But you can do that.
I've seen it. I've been there. Do you guys familiar with what changes were made in the Century Code with regarding nuclear power in our state? So, Senate Bill 2159. I don't know if you remember when they were talking about burying, drilling and burying radioactive material in Pierce County.
Yeah.
And that was 2015, so there was a big uproar over that. And there was legislation written to prohibit these activities. Well, this session, they took the word cannot and put can. So now they've opened up Pandora's box for highly reactive radioactive material into our state. What I've researched and what I'm finding is these data centers, as you well know, they take a huge amount of electricity. In fact, the size you're talking about gives you an indication. These are supercomputers used for AI. So to meet that energy demand, There's been activities, there's a couple of them set up in China already and that, but
Start a
they're,
wind tower, right?
well, the problem is wind tower is unreliable, unfortunately. But, so what they're using and proposing, and I believe this is what they're opening the door to, are what they call SMRs, small mobile reactors. These are nuclear reactors that they can put on site to run a data center. My concern with this is, one, for you guys in zoning, who's going to want to live next to it? Two, the security issue, having multiple nuclear facilities around the state. I'm not opposed to nuclear, but it needs to be done right, and I would believe a centralized nuclear power plant in a remote area makes the most sense. But nonetheless, my point is that you guys are going to have to be dealing with this in zoning moving forward, because I guarantee you it's coming. I'm not even guessing, and we need to be ready for it.
Well, any other comments in that regard? We really don't have information and any kind of template at this point, do we?
Stan, I'd like to make a motion to the effect that we put a moratorium on zoning or moratorium on any data centers or solar farms. You also saw that letter now. We're getting inquiries about. We have no zoning ordinance. I would propose that we vote to put a moratorium on any of that development until this board has time to research it and establish ordinance.
Here. Yes.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Warren. Any other discussion on that? Well, and we certainly do need to get the appropriate information for both. And there just isn't, I think there's people out there working on it, but as far as having something completed that we can go by.
The only thing that I had is from the state, and it's that short,
Right.
pertaining to data centers.
What did they say?
It's a fill in the blank. I think they sent you into last.
I think we need a whole bunch more information than what the state. And it's going to take time. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight.
Right. Anything else
So
in regards to that?
the timeline would be good. You know, when do we want to start needing to process an ordinance? You know,
Sooner rather than later.
right.
You gotta
Because, I
address
mean, we do have to meet in 2 weeks for that portion of taking out storage from ordinance 3.
Structure.
Or structures, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
I think the first thing is to get something in place so that you can refine it in the future.
Right.
So, do we want to start, you know, between now and 2 weeks from now, do some research and come together to start writing an ordinance? Because I need to know what to put in my public hearing notice to paper.
Well, if nothing else, a place to start would be probably what the state gave us. And then, this is really a new thing, so I'm thinking that this is gonna get refined and modified in more detail as time goes on, which it should be. But we need to have something in place soon.
Because we don't want to have a long-term moratorium on anything. I mean, in terms,
Right.
you want to at least be objective and
Right.
be able to look at
So
something.
in 2 weeks, should I put a notice?
Well,
in
I'm
the
not saying we can't
Well,
look
yeah,
at it, but
exactly.
we
But
don't
if
want
you-
something to take place
That's
while we're
right.
looking.
Right, we don't want to drag our feet here either, and
We don't know what's happening out there right now.
So do you want to do research in 2 weeks and come back to start looking at even a generic and then add to it?
Well, that's the place to start.
Okay.
and-
Right.
and
We
So
gotta
I
start
will put that in
somewhere.
the public hearing
Right.
notice.
But I think the moratorium is important, that something doesn't start, or maybe it's already started. And if it started, there's not much we can do about it.
well, no, nothing's been requested. So, I mean, in terms of, nobody's trying to file a permit, or, so.
So far, yeah.
Right. Any of those people would need a permit, even without any kind of verbiage as to what kind of restriction. They still would need a permit, and no one's done it.
All the water supply projects.
Before we end, if any of you have not signed the sign-up sheet in the back, please do so before you leave, so I don't forget somebody, because I don't know all of you.
Oh, I
Sorry.
would withdraw that motion then, Stan, and you can continue.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
He's just saying that we should do it sooner than later, so we don't have this moratorium sitting out there for a year. It's just, let's get together, let's get something on the books.
You can put moratorium in place until you have a generic ordinance that you can put in place to cover at least that portion.
Right. I lost track. Did you get a second to your motion?
Yep.
You did.
Warren
seconded it.
He did.
Okay. Any other discussion, then we gotta vote on it. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Life is good.
Motion to adjourn. We are done with the four agenda items. We can't really talk about anything else.
We're not done yet.
Larry.
There's your payment.
Bill Armstead has to buy drinks for him.
That's his birthday. Come on.